Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be covering demo for string methods. String methods have very intuitive names. You'll be able to guess exactly what a particular string method is doing just based on its name. Let's get started by initializing a variable s with a string value of 220 is awesome exclamation point. Observe that I have capitalized the character A here. Let me display the variable s and run the current cell. The first method call that I want to cover is for upper method. The basic syntax for method call is to specify the variable name, which is s here, and dot, after which you'll mention the method name, which is upper here, and finally you'll have open parenthesis, close parenthesis. As the name of the method suggests, the upper method is going to convert all the characters in the original string to uppercase characters. If there are digits in the original string, it's going to retain those as such. Just like functions have inputs and output, methods also have inputs and output. What is the input for the upper method call here? That is the string literal stored inside the variable s. What is the output or the return value from the upper method call? That is going to be a brand new string where the characters are converted to uppercase characters. There is an equivalent way of invoking the upper method call on the variable s. You can say str.upper and pass s as an argument. We'll not be using this way of invoking the method. That's because we are redundantly mentioning str when it is pretty obvious that the data stored inside the variable s is of string type. You don't have to essentially use variables to invoke string method calls. You can use string literals instead. For instance, I can say the string 220 is awesome and say dot upper open parenthesis close parenthesis. That's going to produce the same result as s dot upper open parenthesis close parenthesis. Let's move on to covering an example for lower method. I'm going to type in s dot lower open parenthesis close parenthesis. Lower does the opposite of upper. It takes all the characters in the original string and converts those into lowercase characters. Observe that the capital A in the original string got converted to a lowercase a after invoking the lower method call. Why exactly are the upper and lower method calls useful? Whenever you're doing data analysis, you might want to find a certain string within your data set. If your search string has different case than your data string, then you're going to have a problem with respect to comparing those two together. So upper or lower method calls are going to come in handy where you can convert the case of your search string and your data into a particular case and then do the comparison between the search string and your data. Let's move on to talking about the strip method call. The strip method call is going to enable us to remove white space from the beginning of the string and at the end of the string. Let me define a new variable w. I'm going to add in a bunch of white spaces at the beginning, type the character a, then let me add in more white spaces, type the character b. I'm going to add in a new line by typing in /n. Then I'm going to type capital C and add more white spaces at the end. Let me display W. Observe that the string is getting displayed as such without any formatting. Recall that you'll have to use the print function call if you want to get formatted display for a particular string. So I'm going to call the print function by passing W as argument. We have white spaces at the beginning, then you have character A, which is going to be followed by more white spaces and then character B. Print function call took the new line character of /n and replaced that with new line. Then you have the character C and more white spaces at the end. even though you cannot see the white spaces at the end, if you double click in that area, Jupyter Notebook is going to highlight those trailing white spaces for you. Let's invoke the strip method call by typing w.strip open parenthesis close parenthesis. That's going to remove the white spaces at the beginning in front of A and the white spaces at the end after the character C. Observe that nothing happened to the white spaces in between the characters A and B because those are contained within the string. Let's use the print function call to string the print function call with the method call here. Just like you can string one function call with another function call, you can string function call with a method call. So that's now going to display the formatted output that you get as the return value from the strip method call here. So you get the string where you strip off the white spaces at the beginning and at the end. Then the print function call is going to format the new line by adding a new line in place of /n here. What do the lstrip and rstrip methods enable us to do? As the names suggest, lstrip is going to just remove the white space from the left side, and rstrip is going to remove the white space just from the right side. Let me show you a quick demo of those two method calls. I'm going to say w.lstrip open parenthesis close parenthesis. We retain the white spaces at the end and remove only the white spaces at the beginning. When we call the rstrip method, the opposite of that is going to happen. We retain the white spaces at the beginning and only get rid of the white spaces at the end over here. For now, we are going to skip over the format method call. We'll come back to that later after covering the remaining method calls here. The next method call that I want to talk about is the find method call. The find method call is going to enable you to find whether your argument string is part of your original string or not. Let's go back to the S variable here, which contains the string value of 220 is awesome exclamation point. One thing which I missed mentioning when I covered the upper and the lower method calls is that none of the string method calls impact the original variable. When I say s dot lower and then display the variable s after that, that's going to still contain the original string which has the capitalized version of character A here. How can we make sure that we update the value and the original variable s? You need to explicitly say s equal to s dot lower open parenthesis close parenthesis. And now if I display s, that's going to contain the version which is the return value from the lower method call here. So we are saying that we want to invoke lower method call on the variable s, and we take the return value from that particular method call and replace that into the variable s over here. Why do we have to explicitly do this to update the original variable's value? That's because all the string method calls always return a brand new string. So you will have to explicitly reassign that to the original variable if you want to update the original variable. So let's go back to our discussion about the find method call. We are going to cover examples of find method call using this string variable s over here. So the find method call takes an argument string, which is going to be your search string. Let's say that I want to find the character 0 in my variable s here. When I call the find method call by passing 0 as an argument, the return value is going to be 2, which is the position of the character 0. The character 0 is the third character in the string. Why are we then getting the position of 0? That's because positions in Python always begin with a 0. You're going to get used to that pretty soon. So the first two is going to be at position 0 and the second two is going to be at position 1. So the 0 is going to be at position 2 here. What the find method will do is that it will look for the first matching occurrence of your search argument string, and it's going to return the position of that particular match from the variable here. So if I were to find the occurrence of character 2 here, that's going to return 0, even though there are couple of occurrences of the character 2 in the string s, it's still going to give you the position of the first such matches. Let's look at what will be the result when we find the character a within the variable s. You're going to get 7. That's because 0 is at position 2 and space is at position 3, I is at position 4, S is at position 5, and then the space after that is at position 6, and finally you have A at position 7. Python assigns positions for spaces as well. So you need to include the space as a separate position by itself, and that's why you're getting 7 as the return value whenever you're trying to find the character A within the string S here. How can you find the substring of characters? Let's say that I'm passing the string AWE as the argument to the find method call. That is still going to return a value of 7 because the substring or matches with the original variable s over here, and find method is going to return the position of the first such matching character, which is the character a here. Since the character a is at position 7, the find method call for finding the substring or is also going to return 7. What would happen if you search for a non-existing character or a substring? Let's say that you're searching for x here. That's going to return a value of -1. Find is not going to throw an error there. Instead, the method call will be returning -1 whenever it cannot find a specific value. Can you find capital A as part of the string S here? Let me display S really quickly. Finding capital A is going to return -1. That's because the string does not contain capital A. Find does case sensitive match. Unless there is a capital A in the original string, you're not going to be able to find it when you call the find method call. Just like you can string a function call with a method call, you can string two method calls together. Let's say that I want to convert my string into all upper cases. I can do that by saying s dot upper open parenthesis close parenthesis. That's going to return a brand new string where the cases are converted. On that string, I can call the find method by saying dot find of capital A, and that's now going to return a position value of 7. That's because we are searching for the capital A within the uppercase converted string over here. Let's move on to the next method call, which is the starts with method call. Starts with method call enables us to look up whether a particular prefix argument is a prefix of the variable on which we are calling that method. For instance, I can say s dot starts with and pass 220 as argument. That's going to return a value of true. My apologies for the typo there. Since the string s begins with the prefix 220 here, that's going to return true. What if I try to search TWO here by passing it as an argument to starts with method? That's going to return false. Similarly, ends with is going to look for a suffix match. I can say ends with method call and pass some exclamation point as an argument, which will return true. If I remove the exclamation point, that's going to return false. The next method call that we are going to cover is the replace method call. As the name suggests, the replace method call enables us to replace the first argument, which is going to be a string, with the second argument, which is going to be another string. Let's go through examples here. Let's say that I want to replace the character 2 with TWO. I can just say my first argument is 2 and the second argument is TWO. That's going to replace all the occurrences of the character 2 in the variable s with the string TWO here. Unlike find, replace replaces all the occurrences. Keep in mind the difference between find method call and replace method call. Find only finds the first matching occurrence. You can use replace to replace individual characters. For instance, I can replace small e with capital E in the original string. Let's go back to the format function now. In order to understand, format method call, in order to understand the format method call, I'm going to define a new variable called email, and I'm going to type in the string as an email which is going to send out the exam 1 grade for all of the students in this class. So I'm going to say dear. Instead of student name, I'm going to use curly braces. Then I'm going to say your grade for exam 1 is. Then I'm going to say curly braces again. The curly braces are placeholders. You can use those to replace the values into that particular string, and you'll be able to generate multiple email strings just by using the format method call. Let me call the format method by saying email.format and open parenthesis, close parenthesis. You need to have exactly same number of arguments as your placeholders. For instance, let's say that I'm giving myself a grade. Since I'm giving myself a grade, I'm going to pass Meena as the first argument, which will go into the first placeholder, and I'll be passing A grade as the second argument, which will go into the second placeholder here. And now we are going to get the formatted string where we replace the placeholders with the argument values. I can give Alice a grade of AB by passing Alice and AB as arguments to the format method call here. Very useful when you want to generate multiple strings for sending out emails to various people, where you want to use similar strings and replace some parts of that with individualistic things like name, grade, or any other information. I'll wrap up this video here. In the next video, we'll learn about sequences.